So for today's reading then, I'll talk you through the spread we're going to do, and then we'll go ahead and do the reading. So this is the Holistic Wellbeing Spread. So any of you who have done my Tarot Wisdom course might recognise this, and there are a couple of additional positions as well, which I've added over the years. So at the bottom here, what we have, this is a check-in, a holistic check-in on how you are. At the bottom here we have physical. How are you in the realm of the physical? Usually in this check-in situation, it's about how are you in your body. Then we have the realm of the energetic. How's your energy? The emotional. How is your heart? How are your feelings? The mental. How's your mind? How's your mental health, and where's your mental energy going? And the spiritual, how is your spiritual connection? So that's the kind of central column of the spread. And then these two other positions which are also very important. We have the social, so how are you interacting socially? Are you getting what you need socially? And then we have environment, which is about all the things that are around you are your environment, but also importantly, we live in the environment of the earth, and you'll live in the environment of your particular surroundings, and that's really, really important as well. How do we relate with the living world around us? So that's the spread, and we'll go ahead and pull some cards for that. So today I am using the New Chapter Tarot. It's by Catherine Briggs and published by Liminal 11. So I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath, going inwards, and just ask to receive what you need from today's reading. Okay then, so our first card, the physical, what's going on in the physical realm for us this week? And we've got the Lovers. So this is a lovely card. It's a lovely card in this deck particularly. So the Lovers is traditionally about, well, it's often depicted as showing a pair of lovers, and you can see this in the two hands in the centre of this card holding each other, and can be about coming together as lovers or as partners in partnership, or about any two things coming together. But it's so much more than that. It's really about acting in alignment with your higher self, making choices particularly which are in alignment with your higher self and with your values. And I love this particular take on the Lovers because you'll see all the elements are there. So we've got the swords, the wands, the cups, and the pentacles there in the card as well. And we have this lovely rainbow ribbon binding them all together, which is a reminder that when we choose to make choices in alignment with our values and with our higher self, that also brings a certain amount of balance. And the choices that we make also have impact on the world around us, and we're also impacted by the world around us. Everything is connected is what this ribbon is saying. So in terms of today's check-in and reading for this week, in the realm of the physical, the best way we can support ourselves physically is by making good choices. So you may be someone who's making changes physically. Lots of people, for example, have specific goals they set themselves around this time of year. Or you may just be enjoying being in your physical body, being physically in your surroundings. I know for me, what I've noticed about being in my physical surroundings, I really, really love the light. So I'm very, very fortunate to live in the Algarve in Portugal. So even this time of year when it's very, very cold, we have a lot of light, as you can see, coming in through the window here. And so I wake up in the morning and I sort of move around my house and I go, oh, I'm so grateful to be here, to be experiencing this light that's coming in, that's infusing my surroundings. And so this sort of interaction with your surroundings, when it's aligned with your intentions, when it's aligned with your values, when it's aligned with what's important to you, can be very pleasurable. So in terms of how we support ourselves physically, making choices that are aligned with our intentions and our higher values, and any goals that we have set for ourselves on the physical level, allowing ourselves to be responsible for the choices that we make that affect us physically, is going to be very, very empowering this week. So that's the physical realm, and then we've got the energetic realm. So what's going on energetically this week? Also interesting, just going back to that physical there, the Lovers is a major arcana card. So of these 5 central, this sort of central column here, I tend to associate that with the different suits of the tarot. So the major arcana I would associate with the spiritual. So it will be interesting to see when we get up to the spiritual level, what is linked in with that physical level. So that's the first card, the physical level. And then on an energetic level, what is going on energetically? And we've got the 7 of Swords. Now I've just been working with the 7 of Swords this week. I did the last course in my most recent Magician course cycle yesterday evening, and we had the 7 of Swords. And the 7 of Swords is one of those cards that it has kind of a bad rep. You know, it's often seen as being about sort of sneakiness or dishonesty in some way, which I always think is a very surface reading of that particular card. I see it more as being about gathering resources. So you can see here the card, the swords, and this figure centrally. This figure's actually sort of like perhaps a spirit representation, a kind of humanoid figure who's gathering those swords together. And the swords come from the mental realm. And so if you gather your mental resources, that's what this card can be about sometimes. It's a very, very beautiful card. I love this take on it. So in terms of being in this position of the energetic, what's going on with energy this week, again, it's that reminder to that everything's connected, yes? So your mind and your energy are connected. What goes on in your mind will affect your energy. What goes on in your energy will affect your mind. And also, there's an invitation here to gather our energetic resources. So that might be about making sure that you have a good energy practice for the week. You might do whatever your energy practice is. Reiki is mine. But I know there are lots of different sort of energy practices out there. You might pay attention to your energetic boundaries. You might gather your energy in at the end of the day. You might be intentional about how you direct your energy. So really, energetically this week, you want to be gathering resources. So again, we had that theme of choice there with the Lovers being in the physical realm. So what we have here is that we can make choices which resource us well to have good energy. So, you know, again, it's really about the choices that we make. How do our actions align with our intentions? And so the next position is the emotional, what's going on in the emotional realm this week, the realm of the heart. And we have here, this is invocation. So this is a special card that belongs to this deck that isn't an ordinary tarot card. It's one of two that has been added into this deck by the creator. And look at it, we've got this human figure in the center, very, very centered. When I look at that image, I can feel the energy coming from it. I can feel the power, the concentration, and you can see the different moon phases there. You can see that they are surrounded by what look to me like lilies, this plant of peace and of magic. And you can really see that, you know, this person is deep in their practice, and the word is invocation. So that's unique to this new chapter tarot here. And invocation, it's really all about where we put our intention. Really, really, where is our intention? And we can invoke what we want. So in terms of the emotional, this coming up in the emotional realm, then what we have is this. We can invoke how we want to be emotionally. We can invoke the conditions that support us emotionally. We can invoke our own power when we start to feel that perhaps our emotions are the ones that are in charge, which can happen sometimes. We can stop and find this stillness. I see real stillness in this picture. And we can invoke our own power, that the emotions don't just have to run away with us, that we can choose, we can direct. And also, you know, what is the power in those emotions? When we're having feelings this week, when we're having strong feelings, you know, whether we want them or not, some emotions are wonderful to experience, some a little less so. When we're having, especially those very powerful feelings this week, then we have this this tool of being able to recognize, you know, what are they invoking? So if we think of this figure here doing the invocation as a personification of our emotions or our heart, you know, as we have these experiences, these mental, physical experiences, which we call emotions, what are they calling in? Why are they there? What is their purpose? What is it that they are invoking? So that's a good question to take with us into the week. The next position is the mental. So where is the mental energy this week, and how do we support our mental well-being this week? And it's another major arcana card. This is the Magician. So I love this. I love the Magician in general. I see this as being a card of agency. It is the title of a course that I do teach. I've just finished a cycle of yesterday. And it's all about that manifestation of our own power, that direction of intention in the world. And this is another very beautiful Magician card, and you can see here these four colours, the four elements that are all there in this card. So one of the messages of the Magician is that you have all the resources you need, and you can see that in the four elements that are there and all of the other sort of aspects of this card. And the other really wonderful message of the Magician is that we create our own reality. So in terms of our mental wellness this week, you know, again, we can make the choices and gather the resources and find the purpose. Those are our resources to support our mental well-being. But as well as that, as well as just being okay, which is a perfectly acceptable goal in and of itself, and if that's your goal this week, wonderful. But as well as just being okay, what we can do with our mental energy, with our minds, is we can manifest into the world. We can make things real. So some of this is about storytelling. How do the stories we tell ourselves, often internally, our beliefs, both about what is important and about what the world is like, how the world works, how do those create the reality that we have? And then what reality would we like to create? Really important that you know that, otherwise you're just trying things out without necessarily knowing where they're going, which again is a good learning experience. But if you really, really want to know, want to create a specific reality, know what it is, and then use your mental energy to create that. Make sure that you have the right beliefs in place. Make sure you have the right wisdom and knowledge as well with the mental energy. Make sure that you have that available to you, and then direct your mental energy to make it happen, to manifest it in the world. So we've had two major arcanas in this wonderful invocation card out of these four, sort of the lower part of the column, and then the final card in this column is the spiritual realm. So we already know the spiritual energies are with us this week, very much with us, with that Lovers, with invocation, with the Magician. So what card do we have for the week in the spiritual realm? Do you know, I picked up two rather than one, so let's have a look at them both. So what we've got is the Four of Swords and the Queen of Cups. Really interesting that those major arcana cards and that invocation card came up lower down. So for a start, that tells us that the spiritual is not something which is disconnected. It's not over there, it's not up there, it's here within us, within our reality. That's what the Magician is calling down. That's what our heart is invoking. That's the choice that we have, is to exist spiritually in the reality that we inhabit. That's the first thing that the position of these cards tells us. And then that Four of Swords and Queen of Cups also, you know, our mental emotional landscape is also spiritual. And then the Four of Swords is often about rest, and the Queen of Cups is often about owning our emotions, owning our truths, what's in our heart, taking responsibility for that, but also validating them for ourselves and expecting understanding from those around us that our experience is valid as well. So in terms of this week spiritually, we don't have to do a lot. We don't have to rush out and do a lot of prayer and ritual or whatever it is. You know, we can be restful, we can be passive, and allow our spiritual team, whoever, whatever that is for you, we can allow the spiritual team to be with us without having to go and do a lot. And also, you know, we can just be in our reality. We also have here the moon at the brow of the Queen of Cups. So paying attention to moon phase is also important. And in this phase of the moon, that sort of passivity, that rest, might be something that is or can be very supportive. So Spirit is here, is with us, is in our reality that we're in now. So we don't have to go questing for enlightenment. We can just be and appreciate the magic of what it is to be alive and to be in our reality. Social then. What's happening on a social level this week? And we've got the Five of Cups. So the Five of Cups is often, it's a kind of in-between phase, in between the past and the present. You can see here that 4 of these cups are pouring their energy out, and then there's another one very containing energy or power or whatever it is at the top there. So this, the other symbols on this card as well, they remind me of that invocation that was there on the emotional level. And we've also got the Queen of Cups here in the reading as well. So in terms of what's happening on the social level, you may feel like you want to kind of pour out everything at everyone you see this week. There might be stuff you're processing that you're finding in the social situations. You know, it comes spilling out. Yeah. This can be really helpful, and we have to make sure cups are a container for our emotions. We have to make sure we find the right container for that. So, you know, are we pouring out what's in our cup because we've found the right container, someone on the social level who can hold that for us, and who it's okay for them to do that, it's okay for us that they are doing that? Or are we pouring out what's in our cup because we can't possibly hold it anymore and it just has to come out somewhere, and then we might get some spilt milk to cry over? So that is a question to be aware of in your social interactions this week. And, you know, what is the power in containing yourself? It may be that if the one in the social scene who is most contained is the one who has other people sort of pouring out. So the message then of this card in the social position is really, again, it's about consciousness of, you know, what am I doing here in your social interactions and your social scenes. And you might have different social scenes that you're part of this week. A week can be a long time. Are you making? Are you aware of, you know, what are your needs? What are the needs of those around you? And where's the sort of boundary between that? So it may be that there's stuff that you want to share, that you need to share, and just making sure that's contained in a way that is safe. And then environment. So on the level of the environment, what's happening this week? It's another Cups card. Lots of Cups today. King of Cups. I think this deck is really interesting because it blends different elements of the suit. So the Cups is very much about water, but there's a lot of air in the Cups in this deck, and other elements as well. In that Five of Cups we had there a pentacle, which is about the earth. So you see the King of Cups has this sort of angelic looking wings to start with, and the King of Cups is someone who holds that space, actually, that space that I was just talking about in the Five of Cups. So the King of Cups, being a court card, often represents a person or an aspect of the self, and sometimes, you know, comes up for therapists, people who hold the space emotionally in a particular way. So it may be that there's something social, environmental going on, that our social scene or social space is in some way linked to the environment, or that the environment creates the social space that we're in. And the King of Cups, I love that we have the King and the Queen of Cups, actually. The King of Cups is someone who is very much in touch with their emotions, and I'm very sure of them. So I won't say mastered their emotions, because it's not about making the emotions behave in a specific way, but has learned to be okay with whatever their emotions are. And one of the big tricks of that is knowing that some of this is temporary. Yeah, our feelings, our emotions are always temporary, even though they can feel very intense. And the intensity, it doesn't always correlate with the, how long are these emotions going to be around. So this too shall pass. And the King of Cups is at peace. Okay, so we've got peace here coming into this reading in the level of the environment. Now, how we relate to our environment is always changing, and it's something to be very conscious of, because there are other beings in our environment, not all of whom are human, who we're also relating with. And so this sense of peace in the environment is that at this point in our relationship with the environment this week, we can just allow the environment to be somewhere that we can go to be at peace, to have peace. So perhaps a really nice balance for this sort of not sure are the boundaries in the right place on the social level, is this King of Cups in the environment. So if you are planning social interactions, can you go for a walk in the forest with a friend? Can you go sit on the beach and bring in this sense of peace for you? And it doesn't just have to be on the social level. We can, of course, also just go and find peace in the environment wherever we are, however we like to do that, always with respect, and perhaps allowing yourself to be there in your heart. So not just kind of receiving the peace that comes from being in a natural place, but allowing yourself to be open on the level of your heart to whatever is happening with the environment, what is around at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, I'm living in the Algarve, and one of the things I really like to do is to go out on my bike. I do that about every other day. And I love noticing how things are. So at the moment, everything is green. Everything is green. And we've got almond blossoms starting to come out on the trees. And we've got flowers in the meadows, got lots of yellow and white flowers. And I know, because I know this place, it's not going to be like that all year round. But in this moment of moving through that green and smelling the scents of the different flowers and the blossoms and so on, I can really appreciate it. I get that peace that's there in the King of Cups. And one of the things that I appreciate about it is that this is how it is right now. It's not necessarily how it's going to be, a week from now or a month from now or 6 months from now. But this is how it is right now. So this is one of the ways you can access that peace in the environment. So that's our reading for the week. And I'll just do a summary now before closing off. So the reading has been with the New Chapter New Chapter Tarot. In the physical level, we have the card of the Lovers. On the energetic level, the Seven of Swords. On the emotional level, Invocation. On the mental level, the Magician. And on the spiritual level, the Queen of Cups and the Four of Swords. On the social level, we have the Five of Cups. And on the environmental level, we have the King of Cups. So a lot of cups around for us this week. So really noticing where you're at emotionally is probably the best way to support yourself this week. On the physical level, you have the option to make choices that support you physically. So do take responsibility for that. On the energetic level, making those choices is one of the ways that you can gather your resources to you energetically and prioritize practices which gather energetic resources, whether that's about gathering your own energy, calling it back, setting up boundaries, Anything that you feel resources your energy, gather it to you this week. On the emotional level, our emotions are sacred messages from our hearts. So allow yourself to listen to those messages and to understand them, to welcome them, and to recognize the sacred nature of them. On the mental level, we can create our own realities. You have all the resources that you need. So choose what that reality is and go ahead and manifest it. And on the spiritual level, we don't have to do very much, because the spiritual team, spirit, is here with us, is here in our everyday experience. It doesn't have to be something separate. We can just allow it to be here and appreciate it being here. And again, recognize the sacred communication between our own hearts and all that is, as a spiritual gift that we have. Socially and environmentally, you may find more peace in the environment, and if there are emotional exchanges that need to go on in your social life this week, doing them in a place that is peaceful, that is supportive, can help them to be contained in the right way. And get out into the peaceful places if you can, because you deserve it. Can't think of any other reason as good as that, really. So, thank you for being here.